Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your fellow Who Dat, Kevin Reed, and the 2025 NFL Draft is over. We have completed our selections in this draft. The New Orleans Saints had 9 players added to the squad through this draft. We're going to go through all 9 players, all 9 additions to this team. And will they help the team? Have they improved the team? Were these selections good? Were they bad? Or did the Saints fumble the ball yet again in another draft? Well, you really can't honestly ask that question right now, because these players have yet to have a snap as a New Orleans Saint. And so we don't know. The jury is still out. But, putting on your prediction hats, as everybody has, did the Saints make the right decisions throughout this draft and making the right picks at the right time? Did they select the best available player at that position that they were in? And I can honestly say, for me, humbly saying, I think so. Because here's the reality of it all. The Saints have so many holes. These 9 players are nowhere near enough to fill in all of the gaping holes and gaps that the Saints are dying for right now, that we need to address. Now, did they address some issues? Of course. I like a lot of the picks. To be honest with you, I like them all. I really do. I like them all as far as addressing needs. Now, did the player, or is the player the right player? Once again, don't know. And I'm saying all that because I know a lot of people are up in arms about a certain player that we're going to go over. We're going to go over every pick. But a certain player, and there was somebody on the board that a lot of people feel was better. And I understand. But we really can't make that judgment right now. Now, when when the balls are beginning to get snapped, and we can give a real honest comparisons between A and B, then we can make that distinction. And, but right now it's unfair to these guys who have been picked. I mean, it ain't their fault, so I don't want to badmouth any player who was drafted. Let's celebrate them, because maybe, just maybe, and especially if you are a Saints fan, you want every single player that the Saints bring in to succeed. I do. Whether I have a difference of opinion of who should have been drafted, who the Saints should have drafted, that's irrelevant at this point, because I'm not in the war room. I'm not Mickey Loomis, thank God. I'm just a fan, a lover of this franchise, and I want it to succeed, just like all of you want this team to succeed. And so I'm not going to harp on them right now. Now I'm going to celebrate them until they show me otherwise. I treat this as I treat every situation in life, or every person in life. When I first meet you, the default setting is I respect you. I'm going to give you the respect when I first meet you. Now once I get to know you, and you show me different, then I'm going to govern myself accordingly. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to have my opinion about you, i.e. a Derek Carr. When Derek Carr was first signed to this team, I was all in. I'm like, okay, he can help this team. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's elite, but I think he's good enough to get us over the hump. Then the ball was snapped, and I felt differently, and I've expressed that at every opportunity that I've had. This dude is not it. And so I want to give these guys the same respect, you know, and hopefully it all pans out. But the New Orleans Saints, coming off a season where we only managed to get 5 victories all last season, we fired our head coach. We brought in a new staff. We have Kellen Moore as the head coach here. He has assembled his coaching staff that has been, for the most part around, NFL circles celebrated by this staff that he has brought in. He's inheriting a pretty old roster, salary cap, you know, the same as it is every year in salary cap hell. Have to kick the can down the road in order to sign certain players. And you have that the Saints did have the number 9 pick in this year's draft, which is a big deal. I mean, it's a top 10 pick. And so a lot of questions were going around. We have our starting quarterback, Derek Carr, who went out last season with an injury. Season ended. All accounts, all signs pointed to Derek Carr not wanting to be here any longer. He still got an extension. All of a sudden, he has a shoulder injury that may put him out for the year. This comes out a couple of weeks before the draft. Before the draft, we still haven't heard a word from Derek Carr. I mean, not even happy that Kellen Moore is here. Can't wait to play for him and all this. None of that. And the only thing that's been dropped was the fact that he is quote unquote injured. He has a shoulder injury and requires surgery, allegedly. And so you have that going on, and this draft is coming up. So a lot of question marks were surrounding that number 9 pick. Were the Saints going to go after a quarterback? A lot of people were pointing towards Jackson Dart from Ole Miss as the Saints pick at number 9. And quite honestly, I wasn't mad at that suggestion. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm not a big Jackson Dart guy. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great, but at this point, beggars can't be choosers. we got to take it. We got to take what we can get at this point. And so, okay, we're gonna address the quarterback, and then rumblings started to come up about Shedeur Sanders. Of course, the son of Deion Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado. A lot of fingers were pointing towards him as being the Saints' number 9 pick in the first round. And I wasn't mad at that either. My only question about that was, is Derek Carr going to be the quarterback? Now, this is before the shoulder injury news came out, which, come to find out, that was leaked by Derek Carr himself, his team, whoever. He's the one that leaked that, not the New Orleans Saints. So that lets you know all you need to know. But anyway, that was before that. So I was like, okay, if Derek Carr's coming back this season and you're going to draft Shedeur Sanders, I don't see Shedeur Sanders sitting behind Derek Carr. I just don't see that. I could see Jackson Dart sitting behind him. I could see any other quarterback sitting behind him, but not Shedeur. And it's not because Shedeur is this all-round talent, this new, I don't know, second coming of quarterbacks or nothing like that. It's the spotlight that comes with Shedeur Sanders, which I think is one of, not the reason, but one of the reasons Shedeur fell so far in the draft like he did. And the Deion factor of it all, bringing unwanted attention to the franchise and all this here, which I still don't understand. As a team, wouldn't you want as much attention on your team? Wouldn't you want this publicity, free publicity on your team? I don't understand that narrative, but whatever. That's the NFL. That's how they rock. Roll with it. But in any event, I didn't see him sitting behind because all the questions were going to be, when is Shador going to play? When is Shador going to play? Because anytime Derek Carr played bad, you know that question is going to pop up. And knowing Derek Carr the way he is, he's going to play bad. And so it's going to be a quarterback controversy here. And so that's the reason I said that. Now, once the Derek Carr news came out, I was all in on Shador. I was like, okay, well, let's draft Shador. He can't do anything but benefit this team. He can't do anything but benefit it. I think he was the second best quarterback in this draft behind Cam Ward. But apparently, the New Orleans Saints, as well as the NFL, I'm not going to pin it all on the Saints, the entire NFL felt differently. And I think this was more of a sandbagging thing, sending a message to the Sanders family to do this to Shador. But I think in the long run, when history is written about this, they're going to regret it. I think they were sadly going to regret it. But anywho's, a lot took place between the end of this past season to now, to lead us to this draft. So the Saints were in a position to, I guess, right the wrongs, to try to correct this sinking ship, or plug the hole in this sinking ship and try to get us to port. So the New Orleans Saints at number 9. Big decision. What do we do? Do we get a quarterback? Do we get Jackson Dart? Do we get Shador? Do we get somebody else that we haven't heard of? No, the New Orleans Saints address a glaring need, mind you. A glaring need. And let me just say, when they announced this pick, my initial reaction, my immediate reaction was like, really? Really? Again in the first round, the New Orleans Saints drafted an offensive lineman? Again in the first round? I was like, man, really? But it is so pressing because you really have to sit back and think. Just look at last season. Just look at last season. Only one offensive lineman played the entire season, and that was Trevor Penning. And that's saying a lot. Everybody else got hurt at some point throughout the season. And it was a need. It hurt the team, literally. It destroyed the team. It destroyed how that offense was ran last season. And we have a lot of players who aren't even here no more on that offensive line. Ryan Ramczyk, he officially retired. I believe he retired 2 years ago. I don't know why he was still in the running for being on this team. I don't get that. But in any event, at the number 9 pick, the New Orleans Saints drafted Calvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from the University of Texas. And look, I get it. The dude is the second best offensive lineman in this draft, behind Will Campbell from LSU. Will Campbell went number 3, I believe. So obviously, you're going to get the second best. That's fine. That's fine. We need that because all accounts show that Trevor Penning won't be here after next season. They're not picking up his 5th-year option, and rightfully so. I mean, rightfully so. Even though Trevor Penning had his best season last year, and that's the only sad part about it. It feels like he finally clicked by moving him to right tackle. He finally clicked. So it's sad to say, but they moved him around so much. Honestly, I think Trevor Penning would be a better guard than he would be a tackle. But that's just my opinion. But you drafted Fuaga last season. You can probably move him back to his rightful position at right tackle. Calvin Banks can play left tackle as he did in college, because I'm getting tired of that. I'm getting tired of you draft a guard, but you play him at center. You draft a right tackle, but you put him at left tackle, and so on and so forth. I mean, come on. Let's put these players in their natural position. And you wonder why they can't. It takes them a while to click in the NFL because they got to learn an entire entirely different position as they played in college. And we as fans, fairly or unfairly, get mad at the player like, man, this they're not panning out. Well, when you really think about it, it's not their fault. You look at Alontae Taylor, for example, the cornerback that we have. Alontae Taylor, I think, is a really good cornerback. But they moved him from the outside to the inside, and it took him about a year to really click in the inside as a nickel. And then you had players get hurt. You had players get drafted in the secondary. So he had to move back to the outside, and he's trying to learn the outside over again because he had just learned the inside. You don't give these guys opportunity to succeed on this team by bouncing them here, bouncing them there. I mean, come on, man. Come on. It's not as simple as, oh, just stand in front of this guy. It's not that simple. It's a sweet science to these positions. That's why they get drafted in these positions. Yeah, Calvin Banks Jr., he's a phenomenal offensive tackle. He's 6'5", 315 pounds. He's out of Humble, Texas. He is one of the most decorated offensive linemen in the country, at least during his 3-year run with Texas Longhorns. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school. He started all 42 games in his college career at left tackle, and he was the cornerstone of a Texas offensive line that powered that program to the college football playoffs last season. Last season, he won the Lombardi Award and the Outland Trophy and was named first team AP All-American and shared the Jacob Blocking Trophy as the SEC top lineman. Who he shared that with? Will Campbell. Banks allowed just one sack in each of his last 2 seasons and anchored one of the top pass blocking units in the country. This was an awesome pick. This was a home run pick. Like I said, taking away my initial reaction, because in my mind I was thinking quarterback, because that was the most pressing need. And then when they drafted Calvin Banks, I was like, well, who is he blocking for? We don't even know. You know what I'm saying? My mind was just going crazy. But when you really sit back and let it breathe, let it simmer, it all makes sense. This was a really good pick here for the New Orleans Saints. The number 9 pick, Calvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle. Welcome to the Who Dat Nation, sir. We move on to the second round for the Saints' second pick, the number 40th pick in the draft. This was the pick here. I think this was a bigger pick, a more important pick than number 9, because this pick was set up to shape this franchise for years to come. Little did I know that it was going to shake it in such a major way, at least from what we gather. A lot of speculation at this time was pointing towards quarterback, which makes sense. You're unsure at quarterback. You have Sanders standing there. I thought this was the moment. I thought that the Saints were going to pull the trigger and draft Shedeur Sanders as the quarterback. But they hit it with a swerve. We did draft a quarterback, and it is none other than Tyler Shuck from Louisville. I know nothing about Tyler Shuck. I had to go back and do some research about Tyler Shuck. Never heard his name, and I was initially, once again, immediate reaction, mad. I mean, who is this guy? Who? I never heard of a Tyler Shuck. I never watched a Louisville game. It has nothing to do with him. I just never watched Louisville football. It don't come on TV, so at least not here. I have not seen him play, and so I really couldn't judge him. I was just like, I don't get it. Now, he's a big quarterback. He's 6'5", the tall quarterback, prototypical, I guess you could say, prototypical quarterback. But here's the thing. that really stuck out when you do your research about Tyler Shuck. He stays hurt. He has had three season ending injuries throughout his college career. He's been in college for 7 years. The dude is 26 years old. He's 26 years old. He's the same age as Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. They're the exact same age. Trevor Lawrence has what, 3 years of NFL football experience? You know, but they're the same age. It's it's crazy. But this guy has had three season-ending injuries in his career, and all I can think about was the fact that the Saints did it again. They did it. They did it again. They drafted a hurt player. And think back, Kendre Miller. He was hurt in college. When you drafted him, guess what he did in the NFL? Hurt. They drafted Peyton Turner. He was hurt in college. Guess what happened when he got here? He was hurt. The moral of the story is, if you stay hurt in college, being drafted is not the elixir that's going to cure your injuries and you'll never get hurt again. It's a history. There's a reason why it's called a history of, because you constantly do it. You consistently do it. And that's what I'm afraid of. Now, going by what I watched from Tyler Shuck, the dude has an arm. I'm not going to question his arm strength. I'm not going to question his accuracy. He's even pretty mobile. I'm not going to question none of that. He looks good. He really does look like a good quarterback. Not mad at that. So this is not a shot at him as a player. I think he's a really good player, and he may benefit this team. This may be our quarterback for the future. The question mark comes in. He has been hurt throughout his career in college. He stays hurt. And we're talking major injuries here. Now, he's had two shoulder injuries, two shoulder surgeries. The only good thing about that, it was his non-throwing shoulder. The bad thing about that is been back to back. You've hurt that shoulder that required surgery twice. I think he had a ACL or something like that that also put him out once. So that's the scary part I have. You know, that's what bothers me with him. I don't know if he's going to be able to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, we got something here. If he doesn't, which all accounts show that he won't, we done pulled the bed again. Here we go again, and we're probably going to have to address this yet again. And now, thinking back again, cooler heads prevail. Did we really need to draft a quarterback this season? This was not a strong quarterback draft, obviously, as you can see. If you watch the entire draft, this was not a strong draft. Next year probably is going to be a little better. But will you be in position to get the quarterback you want next season? I don't know. But I mean, it's one thing to draft Taylor Shuck third, fourth round. You really ain't losing much there. I think picking him here shows you that, because this is basically like a late first round pick at number 40. So that tells me this is the guy. If you draft a guy like this at this pick this high in the draft, that's your week one starter. You know, going by today's standards in the NFL, this is a week one starter that you just drafted. I'm just not confident. I'm not confident. Now, this is a new regime, sort of. As far as coaches are concerned, yes, it's a new regime. And so maybe they can get them up to speed a little quicker. We'll see. You know, jury's still out. As I said to start off this show, I'm not going to rag on them. I'm going to go into this with an open mind. Hopefully it works out. But at the same time, I can only go by what you've shown me. Uh, and what you've shown me, yes, you're a good player, but you stay hurt. I just hope and pray that he can stay healthy. And for all who were hoping and wishing and praying for Shador, I was really hoping just for poos and giggles. But at the end of the day, I knew Saints weren't going to draft Shador Sanders. And y'all know why. I'm not even going to I'm not even going to harp on it. If you know, you know. Saints were not going to draft Shador Sanders. Sorry. This is the highest pick. This is the highest pick of a quarterback that the Saints have drafted since 1978, 79, somewhere up in there, when they drafted Eli Manning. Not Eli, but it's Paul Archie Manning. So I guess kudos to that. Yes, second round, number 40 goes to Tyler Shuck, quarterback from Louisville. Let's hope and pray, people. Let's hope and pray. We move on to the third round with the number 71st pick in this draft. The New Orleans Saints addressed another need, and I'm gonna stop there with saying that's my last time saying it, because every need, every position was a need for the Saints. So it goes without saying they addressed the need. It goes without saying. But the Saints selected a defensive tackle from Texas, another Texas pick. We got Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle. He's 6'5", 311 pounds. He was the former top 80 national recruit. Vernon started 15 games in 2024, recording a career best 39 tackles, 4 sacks last season. He was a critical piece of the deep Longhorns defensive line rotation. Don't have much on him. I watched, some of his highlights. He looks a little active, and once again, his highlights. So I don't know. I didn't see full games with him and whatnot. A little bit that I did see, yeah, he was disruptive. So I am a little encouraged there. And Saints have some pieces at defensive tackle. Now, I know with Brandon Staley coming in, I think he's going to implement a 3-4 defense. So defensive tackle is very key, and you need to be deep in that position. The Saints still have Brian Bursey, who we drafted a couple of years ago, who's phenomenal, I believe. And if you're going to have a rotation going on like that with keeping them fresh, young talent here, I feel good about it. I feel good with this pick. I thought it was a pretty decent pick. We'll see how he fits in. Vernon Broughton is your third pick in the 2025 NFL draft for the New Orleans Saints. We move on to the fourth pick in the NFL draft for the Saints, and we're still in the third round at pick 93. The New Orleans Saints draft safety Jonas Sinker from the University of Virginia. Jonas is 6 feet tall. He's a two-time all-team, all-ACC selection. A key piece of Virginia's defense over the past 2 seasons there. He's versatile. He's a physical corner. Sinker led Virginia in tackles in 2023 and 2024, posting 107 and 98 stops, respectively. He also recorded 8.5 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumble recoveries in 2024. At the combine, Sinker displayed strong athleticism with a 4.4 and a 40. He's pretty quick, pretty fast, and he has a 36.5 inch vertical jump. And so he's a very athletic corner, or should I say safety. Let's see how that works out. The Saints just signed Justin Reed. You still have the Honey Badger here. You still have Jordan Howden as safeties. So the Saints, I guess they keeping that tradition going, is keeping 15 safeties on the roster. But I'm not mad at this pick either. I thought this was a really good pick. He's a really good player. You know, the highlights that I saw, once again, it was highlights. And so we'll see how he pans out, how he works out here in New Orleans. Moving on to the fourth round, the Saints had the 112th pick in the fourth round, and the New Orleans Saints drafted Danny Schrutzman, linebacker from Oklahoma. He is 6'4". He's the cornerstone of the Oklahoma's defense over the past 3 seasons. He's an All-American and Butkus Award finalist, finishing ninth in school history with 376 career tackles for the Sooners at the 2025 Combine. Danny impressed with his size and agility as the two-time all-conference selection through comparisons to some of the league's top inside linebackers. This can be nothing but a plus, I feel. We definitely needed help in the linebacker position with Demario Davis getting a little, long in the tooth. Pete Warner, he's starting to get banged up a little bit more, so we needed some reassurance there in the linebacker position, a key position, especially with this new defense that's being implemented. And so, yes, that was a really good addition. I did see a couple of games with Danny Schrutzman. He looked pretty decent. He looked really good. I'm not saying he's Ray Lewis or anybody. I'm not even saying he's Demario Davis, but any little bit can help, and I think he's a solid player. So we'll see how this all works out, how he will fit into this new defense. He can't do anything but help at this point. We move on. Back in the fourth round, Saints had the 131st pick in the fourth round. The Saints selected Quincy Riley, cornerback from Louisville. Yes, he's reteaming with Tyler Shock from Louisville there. Quincy, he's 5'11", I guess you could say he's 6 feet, 194 pounds. He was named to the second team All ACC. He led the Cardinals with 13 PBUs. He tied the team lead with 2 interceptions during the 2024 season. Riley played in 10 games with 8 starts, tallying 33 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble in 2024. Prior to Louisville, Quincy was a first-team All-Conference USA player at Middle Tennessee State in 2021. He tallied 112 solo tackles, 15 interceptions, and 40 pass defenses in his collegiate career. He's a animal there, really good addition. We all know we lost Marshawn Lattimore to a trade last season. We lost Paulson Adebo to free agency. And so this was, of course, a pressing need. We did get Kool-Aid McKinstry last season. We still have Alontae Taylor, but we can also still use some help. So this was a good pickup for the New Orleans Saints, and I think they got him at a good spot. I think pre-draft he was more of a second round talent, and so we got him in the fourth round. That was a steal. that definitely was a steal, and good on the Saints on addressing that need as well. All right, we move all the way down. Saints didn't have a pick in the fifth round, but we pick up in the sixth round, where the Saints were picking at 184, and they chose a running back. The Saints chose Devin Neal from Kansas with that pick. Devin Neal, he carved out a pretty incredible career with Kansas Jayhawks, becoming the program's all-time leading rusher and first to post 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He was a senior captain in 2024. Devin Neal earned honorable mention, all Big 12 honors, and was semifinalist to the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year award. Neal finished with 4,343 career rushing yards, 53 total touchdowns. His explosive senior season was highlighted by a 207-yard performance against Colorado, nonetheless, and an impressive East-West Shiners game appearance, being recognized with multiple National Player of the Week awards during his final college season. He is 5'11", 213 pounds. I did watch him. I did see some games with Devin Neal, and then I did go back and watch a few more highlights of his preparing for this. And man, I love his running style. He is similar to Kendre Miller. Difference is he's healthy. Knock on wood. Hopefully he stays that way. But I think that's a nice 1-2 punch or a 1-2-3 punch. If Kendre Miller can stay healthy, and of course Alvin Kamara on the field as well. So that's a good rotation to have. And Devin Neal is nothing but a welcome addition to this squad. Once again, as much as I rag on his team, this was a really good pick in this draft. I'm excited. I can honestly say I'm excited about that pick. And so we move on to the 7th round, our final round of the draft. Not the Saints' final pick, though, but at 248, the Saints draft a tight end, Molake Matavalo. I cannot say his name to save my life. I've been practicing for about an hour before the show started, but I'm pretty sure once he gets here, I'll get it down. But Molake, he's from UCLA. He's 6'8". 6'8". That is a target. You hear what I'm saying? He made a strong impact in both Oregon and UCLA. He played at both programs during his collegiate career. He's a former 4-star recruit. He earned all Pac-12 honorable mention honors in 2023. He led UCLA in receptions and receiving yards in 2024. He capped his college career with 74 catches for 998 yards and 5 touchdowns last season. He's recognized on the John McKees Award and Polynesian Player of the Year watch list in 2024. At 6'8", 260 pounds, the easiest comparisons I can make would be a Gronk or a Jimmy Graham. Size-wise, I would lean somewhere in the middle with him as far as, ability. He's better than Jimmy Graham because he can block, unlike Jimmy Graham, who didn't block. And, Gronk is the GOAT tight end, so I'm not going to say he's the GOAT, but he has potential to be a outstanding tight end in this league. He's big, but he moves like a wide receiver. He can run routes from the little bit that I saw of him. It's not like I followed all 4 years of his career in college, but the little bit that I did see, I'm encouraged by this. If he's able to make an impact on his team, we shall see. I'm excited either way. That leaves the Saints with one more pick in this year's 2025 NFL draft, and in the 7th round at pick 254, the New Orleans Saints selected a defensive lineman, Fadil Diggs from Syracuse. I knew nothing about him, so I had to do as much research as possible for him. He's 6'4", 257 pounds. He transferred to Syracuse after graduating from Texas A&M. He made an immediate impact as a team captain, starting all 12 regular season games for Syracuse. Throughout his collegiate career, he earned honorable mention All ACC honors in 2024 and served as a three-time team captain. Diggs totaled 120 total tackles, 32.5 tackles for loss, and 15.5 sacks across his time at Texas A&M and Syracuse. This is an edge rusher. We you can never have enough edge rushers, and so you know you're not really you're not gambling a lot. Seventh round, late seventh round pick here, and so I'm not expecting much from him, but hey, anything can help. Anything's better than what we've been getting at that position. To be quite honest with you, for the past few years, we've kind of swung and missed on a lot of edge rushers throughout this season. Past few years. Peyton Turner comes to mind. Marcus Davenport comes to mind. Isaac Forsky comes to mind. So, we desperately need a pass rusher, and God bless him, Cam Jordan. He's given his blood, sweat, and tears to this team, but I think the tank is dry. I don't think he has anything left to give, to us. But I mean, we need some help. And this is nothing but a help, and I am encouraged by it. So good on the New Orleans Saints for this pick as well. And so those are your new 9 members of the New Orleans Saints, courtesy of the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, the Saints did pick up some undrafted rookies, undrafted players, and I pay close attention to this now, especially the last couple of years. When you really sit back and think about it, a lot of impactful players have come out of the undrafted free agents that the Saints signed. I mean, for example, years ago, Pierre Thomas. he was an undrafted free agent that the Saints picked up. Rashid Shaheed, recently undrafted free agent that we picked up. So we've got some gems to come out, and those were just 2 examples. There have been multiple players that have been just diamonds in the rough for the New Orleans Saints. So here are the 11 players that the Saints did sign that we should probably keep an eye on, because hey, who knows? Who knows going forward? The Saints signed cornerback Dallas Beeman, punter James Burnett, edge rusher Jashawn Davis, safety Elliot Davison, wide receiver Moochie Dixon. He should make the team just because of his name, Moochie. I just want to say that every week that he makes a catch. There go Moochie. Yeah, that's one of the signings. Tackle Easton Kelty, linebacker Trameen Powell, guard Torricelli Simpkins III. Sorry for butchering his name there. Defensive end Omar Thomas, wide receiver Chris Tyree, and running back Marcus Yearns. So those are your new additions to the New Orleans Saints, your new young crop of players. Are these the future? Is this the future of the Saints? It's on them now. They've gotten their opportunity. It's up to them to take it and grasp it and run with it. So I wish all of these guys all the luck in the world. I hope all of them find a way on this team and help this team become what we once were. As far back as 10 years ago, whatever, when the Saints were actually worth something. So I'm praying for these guys. I'm hoping and wishing that these guys are successful in this league, but more importantly, here in the Who Dat Nation. And so I would love to know from the fellow Who Dats out there, are you encouraged by this? Did this change your way of thinking about this team? I know a lot of people, a lot of Saints fans were checked out, before this draft, after, immediately following the season ending, a lot of people were checked out. And trust me, I get it because I was to a degree. I was completely checked out on this team. I was done. Mickey Loomis is still the GM, so I'm like, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not there mentally with this squad. But you know, I just can't quit them. I can't quit this team. I love them. I love the Saints. For better or worse, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. So I I had to pay attention to this draft. A friend of mine, we were talking before the draft, the day before, and he was like, "Man, you gonna watch it? You watching? Where you watching the draft at?" I said, "I'm not even watching the draft. I'm gonna wait for the alerts to come on my phone, and I'm just gonna go with it like that. I'm not gonna get my blood pressure boiling and stress out watching this draft." And then the day of the draft, we were we were talking, and he was like, "Oh, you going home? What you gonna do since you're not watching the draft?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm watching the draft. I did." I don't even know why I said I'm gonna watch it, and I did. And of course, like I told y'all before, I got mad, and then cooler heads prevailed. I took a little walk and cooled my tongue, and it all came together. I was like, okay, this isn't bad. I'm not a professional analyst who likes to give their grades, but just from my standpoint, from my little platform, if I was to give the New Orleans Saints a grade for this draft, I would say a B minus. I would give them a B minus here. But like I said, this is all off of assumptions. I'm only assuming that all of these picks will work out, and every year for every team, it never does. It never pans out the way you envision it initially. But I'm still optimistic. I'm more optimistic because we have a new coaching staff, a new system, maybe a new approach to doing things. So I'm hoping that everything turns out right. But I want to know from the Who Dat Nation, what do you think? Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel to get content from the Who Dat Nation, from the Dome Patrol podcast, and other programs here on the KB Radio Network. Just subscribe and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this 2025 draft recap for our New Orleans Saints. Oh man, I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm like half excited, half like because I've been burnt so many times by this team. But I don't know, man. Like I said before, I'm a glutton for punishment. We'll see how this all turns out, especially this quarterback. Man, please, please, please stay healthy. Please, please, please. But I want to see in camp the quarterback battle that's going to happen between Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. Will it be the best man win, or are they all in on Tyler? I want to know how that goes. So I am focused in on that aspect of training camp. I don't know. I had a brain fart for a second. I couldn't remember what they do, but I am Deeply intrigued by that battle in camp, but we got a long way to go till that. Oh, actually, not that long to be honest with you. Time's flying by. Time is truly flying by. But that's the show. Thank you all for joining me. Can't wait to speak to you in a couple of months or whenever training camp begins. We'll start breaking down training camp over there on Airline for the New Orleans Saints and get prepared for the 2025-26 NFL season. Until then, I'm going to be screaming to the top of my lungs, who that?